We are the elements that come from oneness. So we are oneness. And we're just manifested we've come into the manifest form and separated from the oneness, but we are the ingredients of oneness. This is what I've experienced whenever I've done plant medicine, especially the first 5 or so journeys over the last 6, 7 years. The first bunch of journeys that I did, I would see the fractals of creative material, the atoms, the makeup of all the different parts. And I could see how we were all made from the same matter. I was made from the same matter as a rock. And this is true. The same elements that make up space and the stars are the same elements. I'm pretty sure it's carbon, oxygen, I can't remember the rest. Hydrogen make up the same. We're made up from the same things that the stars are made up of. We are literally made up of the same matter. On an atomic level, that idea that a table is mainly space and you touch it and it's physical and it's an illusion. We're made up from the same atoms, aka we've come from source energy and we've manifested into a physical form. And the universe can only, like stored infinite potential, can only really experience the different flavors of itself, because it is everything, by separating different unique elements of itself into different forms. So the formless, oneness, the absolute, the divine, the subatomic world, the quantum realm, the infinite field, however it wants to be referred to, becomes form, becomes manifest. We are manifest. We are an example of the universe wanting to experience a different flavor of itself, separate to the oneness, so it can experience and have a unique, isolated, separated experience and feel what it feels like to be a different flavor of itself. Okay. So that, because you could argue and think, well, if the universe and stored infinite potential is everything, why would it want to become separate? Because so it can have that experience of feeling isolated aspects of itself, separated aspects of itself. But the funny thing about it is that the most powerful force of the universe is ignorance, because we need to be convinced that we're not oneness in order to be able to forget the truth of what we are, so that we can have that isolated experience. Because if we knew we were completely infinite and one, then we wouldn't know what it feels like just to be sad in that moment, because we'd be feeling everything. So we wouldn't be feeling sadness. Okay. So to feel sad, we need to forget that we're also happy, that we're also everything else. And that creates a unique experience that oneness can't itself create. And so metaphorically in spiritual theory, the way this is referred to is using the ocean as a metaphor of the infinite field, and a wave being a metaphor for form or a manifest creation. So the non-manifest is the stored potential, and then which is the ocean, and then a wave comes up and forms out of that stored infinite potential. So, in summary, one of the purposes of this human experience as a soul on this soul journey is to experience, to have unique experiences. Now, there are some contradictions here. Not contradictions, but there are some opposing forces and opposing intentions weaving into the same experience, the same situation here as a human being. On the same token, there's a process of forgetting that ignorance, that powerful force that allows us to have a separate experience, so we can experience something separate from oneness. But then simultaneously to that, as much as a human being, we're on this journey of forgetting ourselves, we then manifest into this world on our soul journey. I see it as there's two main phases of this soul journey. One of the phases is the forgetting or ignorance phase. And the second phase, the second journey, that we go through, or the second direction we move in as a soul on this soul journey, is awareness and remembering. So first we forget our oneness. We come into this soul as this baby, come into this human form as this baby, and we start forgetting where we're connected in our mother's womb. We're connected where we are still half in the realm of infinite potential as an energy, but then we're becoming more and more manifest. And then we become most separate physically as we separate from our mother's umbilical cord, and we are now a separate individual, unique human. Boom, we're here. And through the process of our ego forming, we become more and more separate. We forget more and more of what we are, the truth of the fact that we are the unmanifest in manifest form. We forget that, and we forget and forget and forget. We become more and more separate, more and more tangible in our thinking, in our approach to life. We become more and more relative, or more and more gross, more and more relative, more and more physical, more and more matter. We become more and more attached to our separate identity as a human being. And so I see that first journey, that forgetting, that ignorance stage, as moving towards a point of being the most separate we could possibly be. And I call that the intolerable pain of separation. When we feel like we continue to potentially achieve more, but we forget so much of the truth of what we are. We have so much ignorance that accumulates for us to reach this precipice point of forgetting, where we reach this painful point of separation, where we're so individual, we're so connected to our identity as a human being. Our ego is so prominent and so strong and so fixed and so rigid and so developed that we hit this point where the pain of separation is so intense that we hit a rock bottom moment in life. And that pain, Eckhart Tolle speaks a lot about this, that pain is what pushes people to awaken. And when we hit that intolerable point of pain of separation, that point of forgetting that is so pronounced, where we go, holy crap, we awaken from a coma of living in ignorance and go, there's got to be something else to this experience. There's got to be something else to this experience. It can't just be succeeding, trying to prove ourselves to our parents. It can't just be this material world. There's got to be something else, because this grief, this sadness, this pain, this hardship, this situation I'm currently in, it doesn't make sense fully. Thus, I'm going to start searching for something more. And that, in my opinion, this is just my perspective, my analysis on this human experience through all the pain and hardship and journey that I've been on, is that is a spiritual awakening.